Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a great day today, and in this video we're going to be doing a review for the first season of the Book of Boba Fett, which came out in 2021 to 2022, and it was released on Disney+. Now this was a Star Wars series that was a spin-off of The Mandalorian after it had been confirmed that Boba Fett survived the events of Return of the Jedi, and was in that show, and then he got his own show, at least for the most part. Now, I just gotta say, Boba Fett is probably my favorite Star Wars character. He had always just been this really cool guy. I mean, he was the original Mandalorian, the original bounty hunter, even though he's not even a Mandalorian, technically, he just has the armor. Either way, I thought Temuera Morrison was great in the role. Obviously, he played Jango Fett in the prequels, and so they got him for the Mandalorian in this show, and his performance was just really great. Apparently, the Like a Bantha thing was just improvised by him, so that's pretty cool. It's a little interesting because they made it to where Boba Fett had changed. He started to not become this aggressive bounty hunter anymore, and he wanted to be more of a leader to protect Mos Eisley, taking Jabba's place. There was even a point where he bonded with the Tusken Raiders and learned some of their ways. And a lot of people didn't really like how he changed as a character. Overall, after thinking about it, I think I'm fine with it. I think it works on a story level, but since we didn't really get flashbacks of him in his prime during this show, I'm hoping that Disney releases a show or a movie about Boba Fett that would take place around the time of the original trilogy or before then. But anyways, when it comes to this show, I would say it's kind of all over the place quality-wise. It has some good stuff, some kind of mediocre stuff, and some straight up bad stuff. Obviously, the first few episodes is kind of just about setting up what Boba Fett's doing in Mos Eisley, and then some flashbacks where you see him crawling out of the Sarlacc pit, meeting Fennec Shan, and all that good stuff. But once you get to the 5th episode, it's entirely Mandalorian. When I first figured out it was called Return of the Mandalorian, I thought, oh, that's cool, they're going to team up. But instead, Boba Fett isn't even in this episode at all, which I think is outrageous. But what made me even more mad wasn't that people were complaining about this. They were complaining, saying, why is the Mandalorian episode the best episode? And in all honesty, I kind of thought it was like the worst episode. Or maybe episode 3 was. That was a little bad. So I just didn't find the 5th episode very interesting. Then when you get to the 6th episode, it's more the Mandalorian. But Boba Fett actually does make a cameo in that. And then you also get some of Luke Skywalker, as well as Ahsoka Tano. And then you get more of that sheriff that was in the 2nd season of The Mandalorian. But the big deal was Cad Bane's introduction to live action, which, to be honest, I honestly was pretty on board with this. I know a lot of people were not a huge fan of his design, which I get the complaints. I definitely think it could have looked a little bit different, although it wasn't like it was CGI or anything. They actually had a physical actor with a mask, so that is pretty impressive. Understand the complaints, but it really doesn't ruin the experience for me. I still think it's really cool to see him. But once you get to the last episode, I think that's one of the best episodes of live action Star Wars. It's just so cool finally seeing the Mandalorian and Boba Fett team up and take out all these bad guys. And they were kind of pulling the strings the whole time with killing the Tusken Raiders and that stuff, so it is pretty satisfying as they're served justice. And the duel at the end between Cad Bane and Boba Fett, I think, is just really well done, especially the dialogue between them. And overall, when it comes to this show, I think it is visually very good. CGI and costume design is all pretty impressive, and I think it actually won an award for that. And there's also just some great action in here, as I said. So it's a show that the quality is kind of all over the place, but a lot of people will just straight up call it bad, and I don't think that's the case at all. I would prefer a show like this over something like The Mandalorian Season 3 that was just consistently almost bad, except for the last couple episodes. I think the main problem with this show was just that it didn't really know how to show all the different stuff, because you have some episodes that are mostly just flashbacks, then some that are mostly the stuff in the present time, and then some that dedicate too much time to the Mandalorian. I think it would have been better if they were just able to edit it together in a better way. The pacing and all that stuff just felt right. It didn't feel like we were spending too much time in one place and then another place. That pretty much would have fixed it, because overall I think it was a good story. My only complaint is probably the teenage cyborgs and their bikes. I did not think they were interesting characters, and there was a terrible chase scene. Other than that, story-wise, I think it works very well. They just didn't present it the best way they could have. So overall, on the quality scale of 0 to 100, we'll give it a 76%. And if you're a fan of Star Wars and haven't already checked this out, I would definitely recommend it. And if you already have, let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.